who is on the phone?
That is Josh Cheney.
Cheney.
So this is the Economic Development Committee for the City of West Linn. It's Thursday, October 12th at 6 p.m. Yeah, a couple people missing.
Did you hear from Russell?
Russell's not able to attend.
Okay.
I can text him.
Well, I mean, I don't really need to.
Where are
You want to.
I'm like, where are you?
I think it's last week for the recording.
For the recording. Okay.
Stop using the baby as an excuse.
Right.
It's-
Yeah, come on.
I did that for a long time, so I guess I did.
You can't.
No. It's hungry, but it's
Exactly.
all that stuff. Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna call names and just tell me if you're here. Obviously Shannon Eyeless, Shannon Knight here. So we just said was not here. Josh Carter. He is here.
Hi, Josh.
Josh Cheney,
Also here.
also here. Okay.
I'm here.
We don't have Tanner. unless-
Tanner's absent.
Absent. Okay, and then we do not have our council liaison, Councilor Groner is all it says.
Yep, he's not
He is
here.
right here. Okay. And staff liaison, Schnar.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have our guest, Chris Myers, Associate Planner for the City of West Linn.
That's me.
So
Just for those people that are streaming live on YouTube, welcome.
okay. All right, then we pretty much call the meeting to order. Do we have,
Oh, there you go. That won't work. Agenda for you. This would be like any documents.
I'm pretty document heavy right now. So no offense.
come on. All right, do we have any public comment?
I don't believe anybody signed up to join the meeting, so we can pass on that.
Okay, then we'll move on to approving the meeting notes from September 14th.
Did you get a copy of those, Heather?
I have it on my.
Oh, excellent.
I will move to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay. Approve them, any,
I'll second.
okay, which Josh was that, sorry?
Sorry, Josh Carter.
Katie, it sounds like
Josh
maybe.
Cheney. Okay. You're doing ayes and nays?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Everyone approves? Aye?
I was.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any nays?
Officially.
Okay. No nays from the Joshes, all right? Then this motion has passed. Okay, on to item number 4, the update, which I guess is why you're here, Chris.
Oh, is it me already?
It is 43, Highway 43 Land Use and Neighborhood Connectivity Plan.
Yes, just getting going. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate the time, you guys. And we'll try to speak up so those of you who are not in the room can hear me. So it was our turn to
I know.
just this, to
We
speak
can
when you
see
guys
their
are right here.
faces, I know.
All right, so I'll do, oh, wait, since no one's really watching this, I'll just turn this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay with that?
If there's questions, you guys could put your hand up or we'll get them at the end, but it's informal. Chris will do a presentation, then we can have questions.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Yeah.
thank you, Chris.
And to your point, this is really a pretty informal briefing for you guys. Yeah, so I'm Chris Myers, Associate Planner here for the City of West Linn. We are just getting started with a new plan, a new project. It's been in the works since about 1988. I recently found what we think might be the original version of this project that it's old. Nothing ever happened, so we're giving it another go. So a couple things. For one, the highway, and this is a briefing that I gave council on Monday. And on Monday, council authorized City Manager John Williams to sign the contract for $200,000 for our consultant services for this project. And I'm just going to kind of walk through the same thing I walked them through. It's sort of a high-level brief of what the project is. And my assumption is that over the next 2 years, I'll work with Alina and this group, and we'll sort of come back for regular, semi-regular updates, that kind of thing. So I'll leave that up to you guys to kind of decide what would work best for you. So right now it's called the Highway 43 Land Use and Neighborhood Connectivity Plan. We're working on a new title that's maybe slightly shorter, so I don't have to repeat that a million times. What's that?
Just laughing.
Oh, yeah. I put it to council in an email if they wanted to throw in some concepts or ideas for a new title, and I may have opened up a fire hose of ideas. So lesson learned for me. No, it's okay. There's some good ideas coming through, and some other ideas too. So this is actually a council docket project and a priority council docket project. This was also the money for this plan was approved through the 2024-25 budget cycle back in June. So essentially the goal is to create a new vision for Highway 43, right? And this is going to be a vision. It's supposed to be, it will be a vision that's going to provide complete and safe facilities for pedestrians, for cyclists, for transit users. It's a vision that should enable commercial services that meet neighborhood needs, a vision that provides pedestrian connections to needed goods and services, as well as to other neighborhoods. And I think that's an important point we're trying to get to, as well as a lot of the neighborhoods down off 43 are disconnected, even though they're somewhat next to each other or are next to each other. And then we have basically 3 primary project goals. There's a whole bunch of sub goals that we won't get into right now, but the primaries are, evaluating the land uses adjacent to the Highway 43 corridor, which is approximately 3.3 miles in length. So it's from the Lake Oswego Westland border south to I-205. So it's that corridor. We're stopping at I-205. John Floyd is working on the waterfront plan, another major long-range plan we have going, and that sort of takes from I-205 to the water and then heading west. So this plan stops at 205, and we're looking at recommending zoning changes. Where am I? Zoning changes, amended code language, and potentially some design standards for infrastructure improvements. So I'll get to that in just a second. Evaluating pedestrian and bicycle connections in the corridor. Sorry, I lost my spot here. Because we want people to be able to safely access the corridor without having to drive their car. Walking in from a neighborhood, from neighborhoods that are adjacent to do restaurants and hang out. And then developing a mixed use zoning code for the Westland Community Development Code. Right now we have one. We have a mixed use code, but it's geographically bounded to one area. And we'd like a mixed use code that we could apply to anywhere in Westland that council and Bloomberg teams need are necessary. So we did go out for through the RFP process for requests for proposals. We received some applications. We had actually originally gone out last year, and we didn't get any responses. And the feedback we received was we didn't have enough money. That the transportation analysis alone was $50,000 to $75,000, and the total contract was only $125,000. So council put another 75 in to get us to 200. And that way we can get an analysis of the transportation and the impacts from the changes that we're making and how those will impact the corridor. After scoring and after interviews, MIG was awarded the project. They're a pretty prominent firm, both nationally and locally. And so something that I'll sort of push back and really emphasize is that this is actually, and where some of these games are going, this is actually a community visioning process, really. More than anything, we want to know what the community wants Highway 43 to look like over the next 3-4 decades or whatever it happens to be. So the largest component of this plan is actually the public engagement plan, or the public engagement component. So MIG will of course do the standard online survey, open house, what else do we have in there? Like a kickoff, community kickoff meeting, that kind of thing. There'll be some of the basic planning stuff that's usually larger. What we are going to do, and what I'm committed to doing, and our department's committed to doing, is we're looking at roughly 25 to 30 engagement events over the next 12 months. And those aren't going to be massive. Some of them might be, but some of them won't be. We're talking about things like intercept surveys out front of the grocery stores. What's the grocery store down there? Market of Choice, Safeway, doing where was I? Weekends and evenings at the library. You know, I've used it in another jurisdiction I worked for where we did coffees and cookie. Just come and have a cookie and coffee and talk to me about 43. What do you want to see? At varying times, varying days. We're talking about tabling events at places like football games, mainly because you get like 4,000 people in a football game. So you get a lot of people in a very close space and time, right?
Yeah.
So tabling events at some of the larger things, football games, concerts in the park, movies in the park. We are going to go to where people go rather than expect people in a passive manner to come to us, right? So this is what I consider sort of old school planning. This is how it was done before we had online surveys and things of that nature. This is planning 101. Also doing things like I'm scheduling presentations at the Wednesday Adult Community Center. They do a lunch every Wednesday, and I think it's like $8, 3 courses or something. I don't remember. But anyway, it's a pretty good group that shows up, normally around 30 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think that might be 30 people we normally don't hear from. So that's one that I'll do multiples of that. Booth at the farmer's market, booth at the fair. So we're really trying to hit, again, go out to places, but not just in the corridor as well, because we're looking at this as a larger community vision, not just someone who owns a business down there or someone who has to live in that corridor. Right? So we're trying to really get out and get going. Simply put, the goal is to connect with as many West Linn community members as possible. And that really is true. That is the goal. So we know that we could burn $200,000 of consultant time just asking them to do that. But actually what we need them to do is the expertise that we don't have, the transportation analysis and some of the more online related stuff. And when I say we, I really mean me and anyone I can grab off of the staff to come help me on that day at that event. I'll put together a schedule and hopefully get my colleagues to sign up to pitch in and help out, or anyone else who wants to pitch in and help out. So we'll get out and do as much of that as we can. And that's basically the overview of where we're at now. So council has signed, John has signed the contract. MIG signed the contract, legal confirmed, reviewed, and signed the contract. So we are official. Again, we expect it to take about 2 years for the full project. But the public engagement portion, the goal is essentially a year from now. Part of that is we would like to sort of memorialize the first portion of the project through what will probably be a council resolution by the end of calendar year 2024. So sometime in December of 24, we'd like to have the vision sort of accepted by council, and then some of the technical portion of it can move forward into 2025, into October 2025. That's the rough timeline we're looking at right now. Part of that is we'll have 2 new positions on council in January of 25. And this council is very supportive of this project, and we're always a little weary of changes of attitude, changes of we don't want this. We've had other projects get killed. And again, because we're going to invest so much time and effort into getting out to hear from the community, we feel like this will be a strong representation of what the community, the broader Western community wants. So we're going to try and memorialize that and then move forward with some of those details. We'll be doing a lot of that stuff concurrently, but that's our big initial stage 1 goal. Is 1 year from now, which is 30 events in 12 months is a lot. Yeah. But as you can see, going to the library for 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday evening, it doesn't take a lot of prep. MIG will create some marketing materials for us quickly. We'll have our first meeting on Tuesday. We'll have some postcards with a QR code that'll link to the website. We already have it's very bland looking, but we're working on it. Email sign up. So we'll be able to start emailing out updates to people and things like that. So ultimately, I'm super, super excited about the project. I think we can do a lot better down on 43 than we have. And this council is supportive of doing that. So we are going to hit the ground running as fast as possible. Yes. Yeah.
EDC has been advocating.
Right. I think a lot of us have.
Since
Yeah, I think a lot of us have, Shannon, really. It's when you look at economic value to the city, this is probably the fastest way to get something moving, actually change the way people interact in our city. We get, I can't remember if it's 20 each direction. I think it's 20,000 vehicle trips a day going in each direction. So you get about 40,000 vehicle trips a day on Highway 43 at any of those points. Those are our most, our busiest stop traffic signals that we don't have. And I'm guessing that fewer than 10% actually stop. I mean, there's just so much opportunity down there.
Yeah.
And so I'm very curious. I know mentally what I think I'd like it to generally look like, but this isn't about me. 27,400 and so. So we really want to hear what people would like. And, we'll be wrapping ODOT into the process as well, since they own Highway 43. We can only do so many things without their approval, but since they've abandoned 43 decades ago, I don't think they'll do that. So, yeah.
Looks like Josh Carter. Josh, has a question.
Yeah, go for it, Josh. What do you got?
Jump in.
Yeah, I apologize for not having my video on. I'm sitting in a parking lot watching my daughter do soccer practice. But thank you for taking your evening to brief us on this. It's really informative. And I have two questions, and one of them you sort of half answered. But the first part is, how can this group really help you in this endeavor?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer to that yet, Josh. In these next couple of weeks, I'll be working with MIG really closely to hammer out our short-term and then medium-term goals. I mean, we have a scope. In fact, I will send it to you, Linn, and you can distribute it. So we have a scope of work. So we'll be hammering out the short-term and some medium-term goals. And honestly, there might be some things in there that you guys are interested in working on or interested in engaging in some format. And I don't know that I can answer that, but at the beginning of the project, I'd say anything you're interested in, I can use all the help I can get. I don't want to take from Alina's work, but
no, I mean, I think if I could just jump in, and I was going to bring this up at the end because I think we've discussed, Chris and I are meeting regularly, well, weekly, on the sort of intersection of the Highway 43 business group process and his work. And so because there is a lot of overlap, and I think, so I think we can ponder it as a group too and come up with suggestions. I think it would be actually a good, we have to do the report at the end of the year and make recommendations. So we could, as a group, think about things, but I also think that the EDC could be helpful in supporting the business group down there. And we could come up with a couple strategies. Like Shannon will provide an update later. Shannon Alice came to the mixer and represented the committee and talked about a little bit about what we were doing, invited people to it. I think that if we become a more, continue to be more vibrant committee and really get some clear direction as we've all wanted from council, this is obviously in line with their goals. And if we read their 2023 goals, which I think are going to be online soon, or not there's, but this is the economic development work really that's prioritized by the city. So I'd like to actually see that reflected in what we're doing too, because then that would make sense. Because sometimes I know we spin around, but if we could get ahead of some of these larger projects too, and give my work and our work a little bit more direction, this is an opportunity for that. I don't know if that answers your question, Josh, but we could maybe I could put this on a future agenda to discuss and then make a recommendation to council next year.
Yeah, no, it definitely answers my question. And my second question was, and like I said, you sort of half answered it, was, ODOT owns the maintenance of 43. With this project, is West Linn expecting to take back ownership of the maintenance as part of this project?
No, I don't think so. I know that years ago, ODOT had offered Clackamas County the option of owning 43 plus giving them $6 million, and they turned it down. Right, big sigh. Really what we're looking at, so once we get through the community visioning process, or as we go through the visioning process, I think what will happen is we'll start to see some trends in what people are interested in, and that'll start to formulate how we'll work on the land use. Again, looking at the potential for mixed use nodes, maybe, if that's what people are interested in. So the primary goal here is that we will go through and amend the land use and the zoning all along Highway 43. Some won't get rezoned, some will, to match the vision. We don't actually need ODOT to do any of that. That's solely up to us. They'll have certain questions or issues with density or traffic and this and that. But at the end of the day, we are more than within our rights to change our zoning and to work on the pedestrian and cycling infrastructure that leads to Highway 43, which is our property, not theirs. So I don't mean to, kind of speak disrespectfully of ODOT. I mean, I do, but I don't. If they're listening, I do. If it's being recorded, I have all the respect in the world for ODOT. But we're going to move forward with our plan, and I ultimately think they'll fall in line. I also think another player here is TriMet. There has been a desire in some areas for more TriMet service. One of the things TriMet wants is more density for more ridership for smaller headways, time between buses. And this is a primary corridor that you would do that. So I think we'll have enough people on board. If the vision looks the way I think people will want it to look, I think ODOT will somewhat go along with it. It's a good question though, Josh. It's something we'll be working with ODOT pretty closely on.
Yeah, and just kind of button up, and then I'll yield. But the Broad Ferry is starting to gain some traction up in Portland, and it sounds like they're going to get some funding. Ultimately, it might be a good opportunity to figure out how we tie in the waterfront near McLean Park or McLean House, so that could be a great land spot for when Broad Ferry is operational.
What's the word that you used?
Frog Ferry.
Oh, okay.
It's the water taxi service
okay.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually that does, Josh, play into where is it? Yeah, one of the sort of primary goals for City Council for 2023 is exploring transit service. And it's not simply TriMet transit service, but inner city transit service. And I think that's certainly something if you were to try to land the ferry somewhere on the Willamette, you'd want a way to get people up off the Willamette to 43. So that would probably be, I am assuming be part of that conversation. But it's a really good point. I kind of forgot about the ferry. I thought it was kind of dead on the vine for a while, but it sounds like it may be coming back. So we'll see.
Great. And when you talk about, I know years ago when we were talking about the commercial mixed use on 43, part of your vision at that time was to have maybe business on the bottom, apartments on the top. Is that still part of that vision?
Well, I mean, for me personally, yes, but again, we're going to go out and see what people want. And I think that's typically what you think of when you think of mixed use, is some sort of commercial residential blend. One of my concerns that I've probably been talking about, at least for the 4 years I've been here, is, we're single family residential just doesn't pay our bills as a city, and we need to generate revenue in other ways, and commercial and other businesses are one way to do that. Industrial, educational, campus, things like that. So we really need to think both about the vision that the citizens, the community wants, but also we do have to think long term. We have budgets, we have money, we have roads to be repaired, and projects to be done, and parks to maintain. And how do we generate that revenue? Yeah, a mix of commercial residential is certainly a better approach than just single family residential. Yeah, so but yeah, I mean, we'll see. What I'm really trying to refrain from putting my vision in front of anything I say to the community. I'm just gonna, I know it's shocking. I'll stop talking when I'm talking to the community and ask questions and just absorb answers. That's really my goal. Literally, I've had that conversation with myself, like, you gotta shut up.
I mean, I think you gotta give some direction, because the times that I've talked to people about this, they're like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking, and so that's when I say,
Yeah.
mixed use of the businesses on the bottom. Oh, that sounds good, but if they have to come up with what it would be on the top of their head,
Right.
they were like, I don't know.
Well, I think MIG, it's great, right? Like it is. MIG recently wrapped up a corridor project in Hood River on a highway, and that was that was a big selling point for a lot of the people on the scoring panel. Was they quite literally just finished the project, and it looks very similar. Now it's not nearly as long as what we have, but I think they'll be able to help us frame our approach to the community. They're actually going to help kind of train us a little bit. I haven't been out doing intercept surveys for far too long. So they're going to kind of retrain us on how they've done it. And I think that will help us. How do we approach people? Do we put several options out? Like, what's the best approach without giving someone the answer you want them to give you, right? So I'm very aware that I have a mindset, but that's not everyone. So I really do need to hear.
Will those be in some of those sort of overviews, be in the marketing materials that you'll then take to the outreach?
Yeah, I
engagement?
think-
Like you'll
yeah.
have some sort of structure.
Yeah,
to
we'll
your-
start talking about that on Tuesday. That's one of the first things I want. I need to start getting the marketing materials ready, even just the early stuff, the quick and easy stuff, the postcard with QR code or a general flyer of what we're doing and what we're talking about. Because we've had so many projects on 43 over the years, we really want to make sure people understand what this is actually about. We still have the concept plan, which is actually just primarily the infrastructure of Highway 43, the road, the sidewalks, and the bike lanes. And what we're talking about is the land use, and then how you get to it, the connections, walking and biking connections to that, and then inside the neighborhood. So we're gonna have to kind of suss some of that out, but MIG is good at that kind of stuff. So
It's not the road.
I think that's, as far as I understand, that's them.
I didn't hear everything.
Look, I was on the planning commission when we did that. So back in 2015.
Which, right, I saw, was it on the community page, right? It was the city page, but someone.
I don't read that stuff.
No, you are not.
Yeah,
My wife does, and I'm like, no, I don't even want to hear it. Don't wanna hear it.
it seemed like the biggest concern that was coming up in that discussion was the neighborhood piece of it, is how are they going to be approaching neighborhoods? And you've answered some of that
As
tonight.
far as 43 goes, what we're
Yeah.
gonna do now.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's actually fair, and I'll take a second just to touch on it, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
So we actually have, in the scope and in the budget, we have 10, what we're calling listening sessions with the 2 adjacent neighborhood associations and with the neighborhood, the neighborhood association presidents group, is that what we call it, group? So the NAP and the 2 neighborhood associations that are adjacent. Because we have 11 neighborhood associations, it's not very cost effective to go to each one, and not all of them meet consistently. So we figured the NAPs is a good place to distribute the information to the other neighborhood associations, but Bolton and Robin would take up the entire corridor. So we have a minimum of 10 meetings with those 3 groups.
Wow.
So that could be 1 with the NAPs and 9 with 3E. You get my point. So we budgeted ample time for both MIG and myself. They'll run those meetings, but I'll be there. But we really do want to hear what they have to say. But again, we're going to try to bring people out of the neighborhood to those meetings that maybe don't regularly attend or pay attention to their neighborhood association meetings. Most NA meetings get 10 to 20 people on a good week or month. So we know that there's far more than that in the neighborhoods, and we want to bring people out of the neighborhoods. So we're going to figure out how we do that. But yeah, we have budgeted time to spend with the neighborhood associations.
Great.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had a neighborhood association meeting last night, and I guess one of the
You're
things
just
they,
checking.
they, I guess, partnered with Sona for a project Sona has having, so they invited our neighborhood association to their meeting
combo
to
meeting.
give, yeah, so you could do that. You could have them invite the other
Absolutely.
neighborhood associations.
That's come up, and that's on the list of just making a larger, you're invite any other neighborhood, well, the issue is we'll just have to have people sort of somehow confirm that they're going to come. So we have a venue that would fit. If 400 people showed up, there aren't. Robinwood Station will not handle 400 people. So but we just need to have the appropriate size venue. But yeah, that's certainly an idea that's been bantered around. It's just keeping it, maybe doing the first one just for each neighborhood because they are adjacent to the corridor and they'll have the most immediate impact on those neighbors. But then opening other ones up to other neighborhood associations. And maybe that's what it is that the Bolton meeting will be open to these other 4 neighborhood associations. And that way not 10 other neighborhood associations. Yeah, so we're going to figure that out, but that's a big part of it. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to access a lot of community members through the NAs. We just need to get them to attend. So we're going to work on that somehow.
One thing that works well, this is just a side note we can talk about is, because I was a former like Eventbrite coordinator for college, and that's what I used for my mixer, is it can be a good marketing tool because you can almost put all of your events in there, and then you can curate your order form to ask certain questions, and it's a really clear way for people to also see, oh, this is the other meetings that are going on, I'll join this one.
Yep. Yep.
And then it also, like I had people say, I understand that this is about the Highway 43 project. I understand that I'm a business, things like that. It can kind of just be an education tool, and they can all be in one spot. But anyhow, that's something that I could potentially help you with if need be.
Yeah.
Well, the consultants, are you come to us to get our vision?
To the EDC. As community members, yes.
They're
No,
gonna show up to some of those meetings.
I think we are interested in hearing what the EDC in particular has to say. Not every CAG will engage at that level, but I mean, if
We can
nothing
talk about
else.
the working group a little bit too at some point.
Oh yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me touch on that real quick.
Yeah.
But we will, as far as the EDC goes, I mean, there's certainly a huge economic component to this plan, right? I mean, we're talking about the potential to put housing in places that it doesn't exist now, and that's customers for businesses ingrained into the structure. So there's a huge economic component. So I do, and that's one of the reasons that Linn and I meet every Thursday.
Yeah.
Meet every Thursday just to touch base on where the project's at, where we're going, where she's going to be able to involve, and I think the EDC plays into that. And again, I don't know how frequently is the appropriate amount to come back to you guys, but I'm certainly open to it as consistently as possible.
I could also put something on the agenda and liaise for you and like ask a question. related
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
process So that your time
Yeah.
is,
But I do, and another as well, but I also, I'm working with the Youth Advisory Council has now started back up. So last month was their first meeting. It's 16 high school students from the high school. I met and presented to them last month, and I'll be back there next week. So I'm going to them monthly because we're actually using them as a sort of a working group. We are going to create a working group. We started down that path. In fact, CCI. Yeah, so like a year ago, we went with basically, here's what we're thinking. We're actually backing up from that, and I talked to council about this on Monday. We are going to maybe take the working group for this plan a little bit differently than we have in other plans that we've done. And I think, number one, I'd say just because we've done it a certain way in the past doesn't mean it's the best way now. So we want to look at what's the most effective working group we can have. Certainly business owners on 43 have a piece of this. I kind of want them to be involved. But again, we're looking for more community members. So we're trying to figure out how many working groups, who's on them, and we're just taking some time to evaluate that because we're figuring 5 or 6 working group meetings over a year or a year and a half. We're not in a rush to get the working group off the ground. So I want to make sure it's the right approach. We're also sort of looking into, is there a tribal component? Although I don't believe we have officially any tribal lands, but I don't want to say that because I don't know. But I've reached out to Councillor Baumgartner, who's been working with tribal leaders. So now she's a bit more connected into that community. And so we're starting to ask around because we'd like some tribal representation as well, which is not necessarily easy to get, and we're working on that. So we really are slowing down on the working group just to get it right. So I anticipate going back to the CCI. Initially, we were thinking end of this month, but we won't be ready with it. So probably November with here's what we're thinking. Working groups are approved or recommended from CCI to council. And so we need CCI's recommendation of what we're going to try to accomplish. And usually how it works is we take a framework. Here are the community members and the CAGs or the organizations on the group. Then we come back a month later with the list of people from that group. Filling in those spaces, CCI either changes it or recommends it, and then we go to council for approval and get going. So we're just slowing down a little bit because I think, and you brought this up, and we added 2 more members last time. I actually think we need to like just double it up. I think it needs to be full of community members, and I'm really trying to find people who are engaged, haven't regularly been. That's a challenge, but I feel strongly about that. But I also am really excited about the Youth Advisory Council as well. They were like bombarding me with very good questions, and it was the first thing I'd done for the project. I was like, I'm not ready for this. How are you guys so smart? At 16, I was worried about baseball, girls, and my next meal.
Yeah.
You know, how are you guys so smart? So I'm very excited to get some of their input, and some of the email questions I've been getting are just like shockingly good.
That's awesome.
My goodness, you guys are
Love
smart.
that. It's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the working group. That's a
Yeah, and I
big
think
component.
we've talked to, and I made recommendations about certain business owners that are potentially interested in being involved.
Yep.
Bringing in the DEI lens is also
Yep.
important, I think, and
Yep.
both of our long-range planning projects are bringing that more to the forefront as well as having like women-owned businesses. And part of what we'll update with the mixer was there is interest from many business owners that some live in West Linn, some don't, but that have been working on these projects in years past too. So also know a bit of the history, but yeah, I like the idea of making it as big as possible. Too.
Well, and so that's where I get in the sort of the logistical side of my brain starts thinking, well, and don't hold me to this, but it's like, do we have sort of a community member working group, and then have whatever you want to call it, a different working group that might have CAG members who are our PC member, our city council liaison. So I'm not sure, because obviously logistics get a little like, how many meetings can one go to in a given month, right? Or how much feedback, or how effective would it be? So we're really trying to figure that out. But yeah, when I was at council on Monday, I brought up, we also would like business owners who may not live in Westland, but we want business owners on 43 engaged. And there was a lot of head nodding that seemed to be the appropriate approach to them as well. So
we'll be doing a few introductions to Chris with business owners, and then he'll be meeting them. And hopefully if we could get another mixer going down there, Chris could also come to that as well. Because again, there is overlap. And as you know, we had a few people coming to the mixer thinking, oh, there's going to be updates, but I had some printed collateral that sent people to Chris's website page, but also to the sign up form too. So those are all things that if anyone's, who's watching, they're all on the website under long range planning. You can sign up for an interest, the interest form, and you'll get updates. So.
And I'll send you the scope so you can distribute it to the group, so you guys can at least see what we've agreed on and what's going to be done. And yeah, I'm happy to come to the mixer. I just wanted that first one. I felt like let's not confuse what's going on. And this project being there, I thought would have just, it's like, no, it's a mixer for the business owners down there, and that's great. Now I'm going to go come in.
Yeah.
And is there gonna be a separate, not city website for information like there is for the waterfront?
Okay, so that was a pretty big discussion I had with MIG about 2 weeks ago, and they've had some recommendations on how to utilize link through our website to something other than our website. And instead of, we're going to probably be doing a lot of map and visual based web things. And it probably won't be a standalone website. You'll just link through ours off to an FTP of some kind that's holding the information.
As long as it is function, because our website is terrible functionality.
I'm in it and on it all day.
So-
You know?
As long as it has
On hazard pay.
good functionality.
I want more money.
You don't care how you get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to have the current functionality where we have to click a PDF to look at any information.
No, we're going to be doing a lot
We don't
more.
do that.
We'll be working on we'll be working on a lot more interactive. Like I want a lot of visual where, if we've put a marker on the map that this is where we just did an event, you can hover on it or click on it. It'll show you what we did and maybe some photos or some background information, calendar that'll show you the next places we're going to go, things like that. So I would like to be far more digestible to just the average person. Not everyone will take their time to read 8 pages of a PDF.
They don't even know this.
Like this night, Will.
They'll go to the page and be like,
What is this?
this doesn't give me any information.
Yeah, and one of the questions they asked after the contract was awarded was just, or no, it was during the interviews, they were asking what did we want the physical plan to look like at the end. It was no, don't want, you know, a standard plan that sits on a shelf and just collects dust. We want something far more easy to digest to the layperson, visuals that explain what you're trying to get to. They also have a rendering, they call it rendering lab. So as the vision from the community starts to come together, as we start to see pretty much what people are saying, they'll be able to start taking photos of the corridor and putting visuals into it to sort of start to coalesce around what we think we're talking about. But I have made it very clear that we don't want any renderings until we've gotten deep into the community. Once you start doing that, then you start guiding the vision versus the community guiding what you're doing. So it's like that, that'll come. I don't want to see that till the end of the summer next year at best. You know, I want a lot. I want to know what people want before we get there. That's how you kill a plan too.
That's a waterfront plan.
I know, right? Exactly. So yeah, sorry I'm taking like 5. I just get very excited about this and it go on all day. So,
Right on time.
oh, well, good.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other questions, comments, any of the Joshes?
This is Josh Cheney. One last question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Chris, why do you feel that the plan originally got shelved? You said it was like a old plan that had sat on the shelf. Why did it get shelved originally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. The one that we found recently from literally someone was cleaning out an office, actually it was Lance Calvert's old office, that we found, which was stapled together. It was on like cardstock. I don't know if you saw it's on my desk. It's really something. It was mostly around the infrastructure itself, but it had some discussions about changing human behavior through infrastructure. It was very bizarre. I think what we've seen in the past is is a disconnect between infrastructure and physical highway improvements versus sort of what people want the community to look like. And so you get these plans, like the concept plan from 2016 is mainly just about the actual highway itself, not about what we want our community to look like in the future. And then what you run into is, well, it costs $60 million to build out the 2016 plan, and that was like 4 years ago. So you run into a funding problem. What the difference here is we're talking primarily about the land use in the corridor. We will change the land use according to what the community's vision is. And then it's up to private development to come in and say, oh my God, that half-acre old McDonald's, not old McDonald's song, but the restaurant McDonald's that closed on 43, that's a half acre.
Yeah.
For 4 years, it's been sitting vacant and empty. I could buy that and do something really cool there. So we're basically going to try to make those changes the community wants in the land use and step back and let that process move forward from a private development perspective. By the way, one of the questions the high schoolers asked me was, well, why are you spending $200,000 to make it easier for private development and make money? I was like, wow, okay. Okay. So Josh, to answer your question, I think why they've been shelved is that they're I think the old plans were not meant as community development projects, which I actually think this is more of a community development project than it is a planning project. The other projects were primarily transportation projects. And we're actually talking about a much more holistic approach to making that corridor a better place for us to be and to have, and even making it a destination. I mean, dare I say there could be potential for a small hotel somewhere in West Point someday?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know that that'll happen. I'm just saying we're gonna make those changes to the land use according to the community's vision, and then step back and you let the process work itself out. And I swear to you, someone's gonna come in. That McDonald's site is gonna be one of the first. It's humongous.
Oh, it's great.
I think this, the sourdough Willie's.
Yeah, that's
a
another
big
good one.
Yes, well, they've chopped it a bit.
Yeah, they
though.
chopped it.
Yeah, so, but I agree with you. It is also begging for
It's like-
some.
Not much to tear down.
No.
No, it's pretty clean, clear, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I hope that made sense. I think that's my take on it. And I also feel like right now we have a council and we have a community that we're ready. I think we're ready as a community that it's time. Enough's enough. We've seen some very positive things happen up in Lake Oswego with, on their portion of Highway 43 in various locations. And I think we're looking at that and saying, geez, well, we don't have a lot of places to develop, but if we're going to do anything different, if we're going to increase densities or have different types of housing and different types of businesses, well, this is probably the place we're going to do it at. So I think we're just in a time, I think we're in a place where it's time.
I think Mary's Woods
Yeah.
is a good example of opening up their minds about
Agreed.
what it could be. Because I think initially people are like, no, I don't want it. And they see the finished product.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's not that bad.
Oh, there's a coffee shop over there. Oh, a salon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think it's time. I think that's what we're feeling is this momentum and this attitude. I think it's going to be a really exciting project. I think it's going to be overwhelming. But I think we're going to see probably 3 or 4 consistent pieces of feedback from the community, I'm guessing. And I think that'll bubble up pretty quick. But we'll see. We're going to spend our time and do our due diligence and see what the community wants. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I will come hand out flyers.
I was gonna.
I didn't want to be super forward and
I was
ask,
gonna
but
say, we could just, we could help.
We
Yeah.
can divide and conquer for sure.
I love that.
I can sit in the library and hand out cookies. Not a problem.
She's one of the most enjoyable
Let's do something.
I'd be doing this, but drinking coffee and eating
Yeah.
cookies and talking to people. Sign me up.
There's a cookies, yeah.
We could do a really big event in the bigger room at the library, and
Yep.
actually I could invite the businesses again to say, hey, come network, but also there's gonna be this tabling event, and it could just be a really big, and we could support, and I can help you with that. I can plan that for December.
I think the thing I like about the library, and I've already talked to Doug, the library director, about this, is you get a good mix of people from West Linn. I mean, my dog and I just recently went down there, and we're hanging out a little bit, and you just get a lot of different people coming from all walks of life, and I think it's a good place to start. But yeah, we'll try and cover as much of the city as possible. Look, I appreciate the support, and I think I'll keep coming back and keep talking about this, but going forward though, I'm hoping I can give you guys some stuff in advance and get some feedback too.
It is listed too. I mean, I think we already talked about it, but just so, on the council goals.
Yeah.
It's mentioned the EPC.
Yes, it does.
Essentially, I think that it's great that it is.
Yeah.
Oh, community advisory group, role consultants involved.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much. for
Really
coming.
good,
Thank
thank
you.
you, really informative.
Appreciate it, guys. All right, well, I'll leave you to talk EDC business.
Yeah.
All right. Good to see you. Yeah, thank you. Good to see you guys. Been a while, huh? It's been a minute or two.
And now you did a good job, so we'll want you back.
Exactly. You gotta bring the cookies next.
That's right. Next time.
Uh, Well, I'll bring a bowl of candy from downstairs. I'll just steal it from
There
someone's
you
desk. Those things are everywhere.
That time of year.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, see you there.
Okay, next on the agenda is the update on the business mixer.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to share a little bit or not?
And we had about 12 people.
Yeah, 12 or so, right
Is
around there.
that, do you feel like that was a good turnout? Is that what you were hoping for?
Yeah, I was thinking if I got even 5 to 8, that's great. So I was actually happy with that.
Awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good, good.
They're engaged, a lot of conversations going on. And so, yeah, it was a really first start and
Good.
people were happy to have, I'm not sure they were clear what the purpose was, if it was like a networking, hand out cards, was it meet? But then as but they were ready to roll with whatever, so.
Were they storefront owners mostly or?
Well, yeah, that was
Some.
interesting. I got probably 20 people registered, but quite a few didn't show up.
Mhm.
But about a third were brick and mortar, a third were home based, and a third were professional office. So that was kind of cool too, because there was, a couple of people that lived right nearby and had offices. And I think the marketing was good, but you always learn too, because of the confusion with the Highway 43 project. A couple people thought, was there going to be a presentation on like what Chris was talking about? So that's why I had something ready to direct them to the website and then have them. And then a couple citizens came. People were just kind of curious. I don't know if the McLean House is necessarily the best location, but it was really nice energy. And we did introductions. I spoke a little bit, and then the director from the Chamber of Commerce was there. And then I had a couple stations. We had a map of the Highway 43 corridor zoning, and so people could kind of chat. And I think we should do another one. What my goal is in between the next event is to reach out to the people that attended, see if anyone wants to help maybe organize. There are a couple people that were there that were interested in being involved in both Chris's project and this. So from what I've learned from talking to other people who have built business groups, it's most effective when you have a sort of boots on or the people that are involved running it. So that's something, if you ever have any tips on that, I think, I'm happy to support and organize, but if we can get them going and sort of, have some synergy happening between them, that would be ideal. But yeah, I think people were really pleased.
Yeah. Sounds like you got a good mix.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and people brought business cards. I think most people knew that it was networking, but I think, I think we could do many different things. We could do like something mixed with Chris. I think what would be fun is for them to get some sort of rotation going where people, they're having mixers very casual at different restaurants or bars or things like that. And then if we want to have a little bit more of a workshop session or something more formal, I could do that at the library or something. So
I
we'll
did you
see.
think the McLean House wasn't great?
It was nice. It just has a little bit more of not a business energy, but more of like this might be a public forum for the citizens. Because there was a couple people that were, but it ended up being fine. But it just I think maybe more business environment might be good. I don't know, maybe like Thrive co-working space or the library, or I don't know.
Library would be good because it's on Highway 43.
Yeah.
So that might be good for the next one. It just kind of mix it up and have it
Yeah.
in different locations.
Yeah. So
Next on the agenda is the Business Resource Center in Winter Fair.
yeah, I just put that on there because I think we've been talking about that, and I don't know if I really need to dive in deep, but I think there's a need for doing some sort of resource fair. I just don't know when the best time to do it would be. It would be a big launch too, so I don't know if we necessarily, we might be able to bypass this unless. Do you guys think this would be something important to do for the community? I talked about, it's really what I'm thinking about is bringing all the regional and local partners together to offer information, sort of in collaboration with the technical grant that I did is coming to a close. So all the awardees that received funds in June are going to need to present a report and paid invoices by the end of the year. So I thought it would be potentially something that would coincide with that, but the projects will be, needing to wrap up. So I'm not sure. It's just sort of something that I thought could be good, but it's a big launch. So
Is it the focus, talked about a couple different ideas, focus on starting a business, so all the resources that are available for starting a business, or more general, just these are the resources available to businesses?
yeah, I think it would be more like the technical programs that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of open to ideas. I don't know if you think it's something that people have asked about. So it's like, what should the next big event be? Should it be mixer, for home-based businesses? Should it be, you know, I don't know. It's just an idea.
I think
Not sure I fully understand the concept, but if you're asking,
I think having a lot of people, it's like almost the resources that are offered at like the Small Business Development Center, or if we're going to eventually try to do some resource center here, it would be bringing all the partners together, like SCORE, MISO, Mercy Corps, the chamber, and just having
it's like a job fair, but
It's
with like.
a job fair, but more of all the business support resources. But also, now that I think about it, could be a place like a networking event where like all the, people could meet each other. So maybe it's sort of like a combo thing. Anyhow, it's just something that I thought could potentially be a good thing for the community at the library. But it's whether I want to be event coordinator or not.
They didn't have a job.
They take a lot of work, but they're fun,
yeah. So I think where this came from was a question of where are the resources? Because we don't have anything here in West Linn. You can go to SCORE, which I think the closest is either Clackamas or Beaverton. The SBDC is in Clackamas. So there's nothing in West Linn. And people don't always know about MISO, and they've heard of SCORE, but do they know that they hold classes?
I bet they don't.
Yeah, so it's just finding ways to make those resources available to people.
Yeah, I think other municipalities have done sort of a similar thing. So I guess, if I decide that it's something that I want to do, then maybe I would ask for help from you guys, or, draft up some sort of concept. But I probably should ask the business community too, maybe put it out my newsletter and say,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to help put this together? Because I know there's a lot of incredible home-based businesses too they're looking to, they've often said, I would help volunteer my services to other businesses in the community, almost like there's just all these amazing marketing. So I think maybe if I did a combo where it's like
Yeah.
the regional partners could come, and then it's also like a networking event, and, just do something down at the library. I'd like to do that at some point. So. Just a thought.
Either Josh, do you have any comments, questions?
Nothing
No.
for me. This is Josh.
Yeah. This is Josh Carter. I don't have any comments, and I unfortunately need to drop off in a few minutes. So.
Okay, thanks for letting me know, Josh. I guess we do still have a quorum, so we're good, but.
People are coming to the end. We just have the last thing is West Linn business map and data discussion.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to chat about this, but I can show you guys what. So what our current business licensing, let me share my screen here. Our current business licensing software has categories, and I'll have copies for the people here. These are the categories that are listed in CitizenServe that can be selected. So our business licensing team is meeting next week as it's our planning, and we're just collaborating more and more because it's a complex process, but it's becoming more streamlined, which is great, with code compliance and building and the finance department. And I want to continue some of the work and just making it easier for businesses, because CitizenServe is clunky. But I guess my thoughts are, this is something to ponder, is making this more simple, and does this align with our NAICS codes, or, I want the data to be more impactful moving forward. So if the codes or the types are more concise. I can pull reports that are more effective for business retention and expansion purposes, or for, again, moving forward. This is thinking long-term about these, like what types of businesses do we have in West Linn? And what do we want for these? This is sort of thinking ahead for future economic development work for Highway 43 and the waterfront project. And I can work with, Greater Portland Inc. And other, data experts to, I think our data is still messy. And so I was kind of curious of your take on if some of these could be combined or go away. I mean,
Yeah, I think like window coverings.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You know, that's a little bit odd, but
Yeah.
you know, that could make.
But like I see, like stuff that's completely missing. So
like what?
like, what would my foil business fall? Retail? Foil business.
With that, oh, right, like an outdoor.
Yeah.
So
there's
I'm
no,
not-
like sporting, there's no sport or recreational
Yeah.
tourism type business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sell them.
Yeah, what would you have selected when you probably missing
Like amusement?
Miscellaneous.
miscellaneous? Yeah, see. So did I- Oh, here is, I don't know if you guys can see this at home, but these are the 20 sectors that the NAICS has. And we can't use these to replace these because it doesn't cover everything. But I'm thinking about looking at this and talking to other people that create reports that help build business economies in other towns and make our categories work for us, because that's what people are going to want to know if they have like, once we have more developable property or something. It's like, well, that's where GPI comes into play, where he can pull a report about what's going on in the area. But I don't know. This is just sort of a little mini project. And I was curious if any of these were sort of shouting red flags, or if there were
And
missing
you also have
any.
salon here, but you also have barber, beauty and salon. So what's a salon versus the barber?
Right, so those can go together. And window coverings like that can go away. I mean, that just needs to be a service probably,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Is there construction? Yeah, if there's like construction, I would put that under construction. You don't even see construction.
I don't think you can say no
Contractor.
because of have to have real estate, just like they have here, real estate and rentals.
Would you have real estate investment and realtor / commercial lesser? Like, what is the difference there?
Realtor,
That's property management.
yeah.
Hmm. I can email this, Josh, and Josh, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I can almost also email this out to you. One thing I was thinking about is there are some of these types of like work session type questions that I have for you guys that I was gonna maybe send out an email. Kind of like we did last November. It was helpful as we approach the end of the year. And let me just digress because I'm thinking about that right now. We have to do a report at the end of each year, and I really want to have you guys come up with recommendations for council next year that we can maybe make it, maybe I need to get up in front of council, or we can make sort of a clear focus. We did this work plan based on a work session we did last year that was somewhat affected, okay, it's kind of gotten these things going, but I think without council giving us 1 or 2 specific projects to work on, whether it's connecting with these long range planning projects, or hey, yeah, like build an innovation hub or continue with this, then I think that the economic development committee is not really effective unless we're we're trying to like further the goal. So anyhow, it's just another thing. It's like, I think it's been a great year. I think there's things happening, but like, you know, Shannon and I mentioned last time too, it's becoming a little bit more of a business support advisory group as opposed to an economic development committee. So if we can sort of brainstorm, I'm thinking in November, hey, what successes, where we headed, then we can write up a report and that can go to council in early January. And then if need be, myself or maybe the chair or whoever, I think you mentioned you want to reapply to be on the committee but not be the chair. So we'll be looking for a new chair.
Get someone else.
Yeah, can help, help me in getting some clear direction or meeting with Councilor Broner. So anyhow, I'm all over the place, but I think the next meeting, I really kind of want to have you guys help me with like, what do you want? What should we do? Should we try to get money for a consultant to help rewrite a plan, a strategic plan? It'll also help me as I move forward in my position, like I'm rewriting my job description because I've kind of, you know, done a lot of everything, a little bit of tourism, a little bit of this. It could go towards, you know, it could be moving towards community development. You know, once we have a TIF, then it's going to be a TIF practitioner. But I think it would just be beneficial for the city of West Linn too is this the type of position that needs a committee and we want to work on these larger projects, or is it just, you know, we want to do these sort of more administrative, you know, like business support pieces. So lots of different ways it can go, but yeah, any thoughts on that? Do you guys think a work session or you know, I can send you a copy of last year's report and council's priorities and think about, you know, what was successful and what, you know, I think your opinion is probably the most important, just about like, hey, where should we take this? Should we just continue to make our own work plan and go from there? I don't know. What do you think?
I think
Have
it's
any
important
thoughts?
every year to look back and see, you know, what we did and what was successful and what wasn't successful and where we want to go the next year.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before too, where we've touched on little things, but then, you know, and I'm doing continuous work, but I haven't put in an incentive program, or we haven't, you know, worked on a boutique hotel, or we haven't, I mean, but I think I actually find these meetings, I think are active. I mean, like ideas come up and, you know, we bounce things off of each other. I just want it to be helpful. I don't want it to be boring for you guys and, you know, help for the community too, so.
But we in our businesses do that every year, right? You reevaluate, you make plans for the next year. I think it's good. It's good standard practice.
I think it's good to see the progress. Sometimes when you're in it, you don't always see it, but then see all the things that have happened. And what we maybe fell by the wayside that we want to pick up again.
Or maybe we made more progress than we realized,
Yeah,
or what did we end up focusing on that was maybe more important than what we thought we needed to be? I mean, I just think it's good to touch base with.
yeah. Yeah, and then I think too, like, when I was first hired, I was really directed by council to develop grant programs and get those out the door. And so now there's a little bit more like where maybe we need to do like a mini community engagement thing too, just to hear what people, even I think if it comes from council, then that will be helpful. But I'd like to find some more funding to support businesses at some point too, getting some sort of grant or so. I don't know.
Well, we only have one Josh left. Josh, do you have any comments, questions on that?
If you could send out the map, that would be great. Sorry, I can't see it just because I'm on my phone and not in the WebEx meeting. But
yeah, I have a map that I'll mention the map. The map is something that I didn't really show a picture of it, but I am building a business map, and I can, I'm working with GIS on that, but I can send you the list of business types too that we currently have in our business licensing software. And have your, you know, opinion on that. And then for November, I think maybe I'll start to prepare this just larger discussion of where we've come, what we've accomplished, and we have 3 vacancies, or we have 3 terms that are ending this year. So I'm also going to put out to the business community interview too as well, people that want to apply that are interested in. And it's Tanner, Shannon Knight, and Shannon Allison. You're welcome to reapply as well. But
I'm not gonna reapply.
okay.
Val,
How many years have you done it,
8
Shannon?
years now.
Okay.
No,
you're not gonna go for a full decade.
But yeah, so anyhow, do you guys have any other comments on all of this stuff and maybe the future of
No,
where
really
things
good
are?
meeting.
It's nice when we get guest speakers too. I find it helpful.
It kind of makes us realize, oh, things are like we are that things are happening and things,
Yeah,
things are moving along and
Yeah.
it's just a good check-in.
yeah, I do feel like it's great collaborating with Chris. And I do sometimes think that economic development it's not necessarily left out of things, but these are community development, economic development projects that they're working on. So I'm always like, hey, yeah.
I'm here.
well, and it was exciting to hear something that we talked about in EDC probably 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Come to
It's got
fruition, but now there's a
It's
plan.
gonna feel really good, yeah.
It's happening, and those things. It just takes so long that you kind of forget when you're.
Since 1988.
Then they had another one in 2011 too that fizzled. So there's
Crazy.
this is actually the 3rd go around, which
I think it's gonna stick this way.
Yeah, because there's money behind it. So,
Apparently that makes a difference.
okay. Items of interest from EDC members? You say I had something.
I have one, the, new building the Icon is trying to build got sent back down to the Historic Review Board again because they're arguing over this 3rd story. That's not a 3rd story.
I said they are.
Because they want a rooftop patio, which would be incredible business district. But because they have a facade on it, it looks like a 3rd story.
It would be so
And so neighbors are complaining that it's 3 stories. A story ends at the roof and this is on top of the roof, so it's not a story. But
it looks like a story.
But it looks like a story from the outside, so it's become this whole thing. So I don't know when the HRB meeting is, I think later this month.
They might be the 3rd Tuesday of every month. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to put in some testimony about how great a rooftop patio would be for the businesses to bring more tourism down to the district, because it's not something that anybody really anywhere near has.
Could you send us like a link or an email to respond to?
Yeah.
Okay, if you do that to me, I'm happy to respond. I don't know who to give my 2 cents to, but if you tell me to, I would.
Yeah, we have to.
Oh, I wanted to say that Shannon Eilis is going to be representing I guess not necessarily the committee, but there's a Clackamas County Economic Development Roundtable, and I have a conflict, so I'm usually not able to join, but you're gonna join in, and that'll be, hopefully you can provide regular updates
Yes.
from that when that happens, and I can also.
Next week's meeting was canceled, so the next one will be, I think, 1st week of November, so that will be in time to be able to give a report
Okay, cool.
of this meeting, so.
I went to the Oregon Economic Development Association conference in Eugene recently, so I'm also going to write up hopefully just like some sort of report, because it was a lot of information I'm still digesting, so that I could present that to you guys as well, either via email and then to council too, just because it's part of that. But that was fun. I'm taking Oregon Economic Development Association. OEA also has a program called OSED, which is Oregon Certified Economic Developer. So over the course of 2 years, they have some great classes, and just get to it makes you excited because you realize all the different things that are happening in the state. Development, I'm still reminded of, again, it's a very, very broad topic, from building Main Street programs to working on, semiconductor industrial situations. So really what I've found from my experience here is try to find out what is best for Westland and what we really have going on here. And that reminds me again about how maybe in 2024, some community engagement or finding out like what we'll want. But hi, Josh. Maybe that's an opportunity when I'm working with Chris, is to just say, hey, keep the business climate in mind as we're thinking about things, because there's going to be all this synergy. So it's really a great partnership with Chris. We're meeting weekly. If you ever have thoughts you want me to feed to him, I'm happy to just keep that project on the agenda. Yeah. So appreciate all you guys, and wrap it up if you should.
Do you have anyone else have items of interest, Josh?
Nope, nothing from me.
Yep, I'm
Okay, well, then we're gonna actually adjourn 15 minutes early.
All right.
So,
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Well
Josh.
thank you.
Well, we're gonna miss you.